I now give the floor to His Excellency Song Kim, Chair of the Delegation of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished delegates, let me begin by congratulating you, Mr. Chaba Korosi, on your election as the President of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly. I am confident that the session under your able stewardship will be crowned with a success. I also expect that the current debate will serve as a meaningful occasion for all UN member states to find a common solution through exchanges of useful experiences to tiding over the existing challenges and crises and building a sustainable world for ourselves, as well as the future of coming generations. Mr. President, over the last 3 years since the outbreak of the once-in-a-century pandemic, this malignant virus has taken the precious lives of more than 6.53 million people, and it still poses a threat to the existence of humankind, with the emergence of subvariants strong in transmission and immunity evasion. To make matters worse, the global health crisis is compounded by newly emerging infectious diseases such as monkeypox. This year has seen immense human and material losses in all regions of the world, including South Asia, Western Europe, and North America, due to the destructive effects of the disaster-prone abnormal weather resulting from the climate change. This has created yet another difficult problem to the international community. Moreover, the global security environment is plunging into the worst ever state since the World War II, owing to the high-handedness and arbitrariness of some countries, attempting to replace the current international order centered on the UN system with a rules-based international order governed by the unilateral and exclusive Western values. The UN was founded in reflection of the expectations and desire of humankind who wanted to see no more repetition of the scourge of the world wars that inflicted indescribable misfortune upon them. The present reality urgently calls for the United Nations to promote more than ever before cooperation and reconciliation and unity and solidarity among its member states and discharge its righteous mandate and role. Mr. President, the world was faced with challenges and difficulties of all sorts during the last year. The DPRK was no exception. This notwithstanding, the DPRK has scored valuable successes in protecting the life and safety of the people from the threat of a malignant pandemic and achieving overall development of the country, while persistently overcoming the difficulties and obstacles on its own. I hope that the successes and experiences gained by the DPRK will make a positive contribution to the deliberation of the theme before the current session of the General Assembly for overcoming interlocking challenges and finding transformative solutions by the international community. The unprecedented crisis caused by the malignant virus spread throughout the state from late last April. It presented a very critical ordeal and served as an occasion to test the national crisis preparedness capacity of the country. But the DPRK government made a correct analysis of the features of the malignant virus and the circumstances of its outbreak, together with the state of the public health of the country. On this basis, it lost no time in putting forward an anti-epidemic policy in a scientific, transparent, and speedy manner so as to take a strategic initiative in preventing the infectious disease, and proceeded with its implementation with due care, thus achieving a decisive victory in exterminating the malignant virus in a very short period of 100 days. High sense of organization and voluntary unity of action and the social ethos of the helping and caring about each other are the superiority of the political system peculiar to our country. This served as a fundamental guarantee for successful implementation of the scientific anti-epidemic policy. In terms of anti-epidemic and public health foundations, our country has been a weaker condition than other countries, but it took the infectious disease under control at the shortest period of time. All in all, this is a brilliant result brought by the DPRK government's correct anti-epidemic policy and the superior socialist system. The DPRK government is closely following the anti-epidemic situation of the neighboring countries and the world. At the same time, it is stepping up its work to build the national anti-epidemic capacity to actively cooperate within a public health crisis in the present and future, and to fully secure the life and safety of the people. Upon authorization, I take this opportunity to express thanks to those countries and international organizations that have shown their deep interest and willingness to render assistance to the anti-epidemic work of our country. Despite the inevitable difficulties and obstacles caused by the global health crisis and abnormal weather conditions, the DPRK government achieved new successes and progress by propelling without interruption the efforts for national development and stabilization and improvement of the people's livelihood. Industry, agriculture, and all other sectors of the economy are showing the trend of a steady and stable growth, and the works to supply the people with modern apartments free of charge and provide the children and pupils all across the country with nutritious food, new school uniforms, and stationery materials at the state's expense are being carried forward as planned. Subjective and objective conditions and environment are still unfavorable, but visible and substantial progress and advances are being made in our country with a social atmosphere which is full of vim and vigor. This reality of our country substantiates the fact that we can successfully overcome any difficulty and challenge if we rely on the strength of the people to implement the policies that suit the reality on the ground. Mr. President, the successes achieved by the DPRK in its national and social development are not something which was by no means made under peaceful and tranquil environment. The security environment of the Korean Peninsula is now caught in a vicious cycle of tensions and confrontation due to the growing hostility of the United States and its following forces against the DPRK. Recently, it is heading into a much more dangerous phase. One of the Trump excuses of the United States and its servile forces to justify their hostile policy and military threats against the DPRK is none other than the position of our self-defense